Hi guys, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel. It has been a long time and I'm happy to announce that I am now a mother of, I was gonna say this, but no, it's just two. I really wanted to make a video today about my birthing experience. This time around, I had to get induced and I did it unmedicated. That was really not the plan, but we'll get into what happened when I talk about the whole experience. This video, I'm hoping to tell you guys what to expect if you're planning on doing an unmedicated labor through induction and some tips for pain management as well. So let's just jump right into it. So just some background information on my pregnancy. Overall, my pregnancy was very smooth until my 30-week checkup appointment. My OB asked me if I wanted to go in for a growth scan. I think my fundal height wasn't matching the date of my pregnancy. So I think my stomach was actually measuring quite small. And throughout my pregnancy, a lot of people were telling me my tummy looks small for what month I'm in, etc., which was also really stressful and not very nice. She sent me off for a growth scan and I went. Baby was measuring small. So after that ultrasound, she had sent me for subsequent ultrasounds every 2 weeks just to check on baby's growth and make sure it wasn't anything concerning. She said it could be a fetal uterine growth restriction, something with the condition of the placenta not giving adequate nutrients to the fetus. Most of those ultrasounds following, baby was measuring under the 10th percentiles. She said most likely I will have to have an induction. So I was very stressed through all of this. Every time I went for an ultrasound, I was holding my breath. I'm like, please baby grow. I ate more. The OB told me there's really nothing I can do. Like eating more is not going to do anything. It ended with me getting an induction scheduled. At my last OB appointment, which I think was 2 days before my scheduled induction, I was at a 3 centimeters dilated already, and I had been losing bits of my mucus plug, so I was kind of crossing my fingers hoping that I would go into spontaneous labor, but it did not happen. So I did show up to my scheduled induction. Kind of weird knowing when you're gonna have your baby. That was very strange. But the good thing is, especially if you have other kids at home, is that like you know exactly when you're going to the hospital. You can arrange care for your other children and you can pack everything and it's not so panicked. We show up to the hospital, they show us to our room, we get all comfortable, settled in. My nurse came in and kind of talked to me, okay, like, how do you see this going? Like, how can we best support you? In my head, I was going into this with kind of an open mind. A little part of me wanted to do it naturally without pain medication, without an epidural. I don't know if it's an Asian thing, but like my mom would always say like, I didn't get an epidural, you know, like it's just pain that you can handle. And I felt kind of ashamed of getting an epidural the first time around. So there was kind of like a bit of me that wanted to try doing it without an epidural just to see if I could handle it, which is kind of weird, to be honest. The nurse did tell me during our briefing that a lot of the women who end up getting inductions do get the epidural. She said probably about 80%. I told the nurse that, you know, I would like to try to progress as long as possible without an epidural, but also like when should I let her know that I want the epidural, because I know there's like a point of no return. She kind of gave me some pointers. She brought the OB in, they checked me. I was at a 3.5. She did a sweep, they got me to a 4. And then they broke my water. I was a little nervous about that. They used like a little crochet hook. She showed me it's just like a little pick, and then you just kind of feel a gush of water. They put pads and everything everywhere, so everything's very contained. And after they did that, they got me to just walk around the hospital floor for about an hour and a half. During this time, I felt like once they popped the water, you know, like that was it, that's the amount of fluid. No. As you're walking around the hospital, you will have more and more fluid, so make sure you bring adult diapers. I think that would have really helped. After about an hour and an hour and a half of walking around, I wasn't really having any contractions, so the nurse decided to start me on a super low dose of Pitocin to hopefully get my body started into contracting. I was very nervous about this. I told my nurse, you know, I've heard things about contractions coming on really strong, really fast, and I didn't want that. And so she's like, I completely understand. She put a really low dose of the Pitocin, and I just kind of sat in bed and chilled for a bit. Slowly, the contractions started coming. These contractions were a little bit different than I remembered with my first baby. I felt a lot of it in my back and in my butt. And that was kind of weird. Half an hour to an hour, I could kind of stand, you know, and kind of sway. And standing to me felt better than sitting in the bed immobile. I also had like that monitor that like prints the contractions, so you can kind of see like the peaks and see how strong the contractions are. There was a time where I'm like, okay, these are kind of getting strong. And I was like, I'm gonna call a nurse because I want to know if now's the time to get the epidural. Call nurse. Nurse comes in. I'm like, hi, my contractions are kind of getting bad. Could I possibly get the epidural, or when should I call for it? She's like, oh, well, what's your pain at? I'm a low baller. I said, I don't know, like a 5 maybe. She's like, okay, well call me back when you're at a 6. So she leaves. We're still swaying. I have my birth comb, holding it really tight. Within the minute, the contractions just intensified. And so I call her back. She's like, oh, you were calling me again already? Like I was just here. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm at a 6. And it's like, you know, it's really ramping up. Like, let's do the epidural because I don't know how much longer I can hold this. I don't know if the epidural guy is ready. You know, let's just get it going. So she says, okay, I'll go check where the anesthesiologist is. And I'm like, okay, cool. Swaying. Nurse comes back in. You're not gonna like this, but the anesthesiologist is in surgery right now and he won't be out for another hour or so. I heard those words and honestly, I thought I would be mad, but in my head, I just locked in. I was like, okay, girl, like you're doing this without an epidural. You kind of wanted to try it anyway. So from there on out, contractions obviously were getting really intense. A different nurse comes in, she offers me an exercise ball. She says, sorry, I couldn't find the regular bouncy ball, but I do have this like weighted one that's kind of hard. And I'm like, let's give it a try. Puts it under me, I sit on it. Because it's hard, you don't really bounce, but it kind of adds like a counter pressure to your butt. And I was feeling a lot of contractions in my butt and my back, so it actually did really help. My OG nurse came in, she's like, okay, Nicole, like, I'm sorry about the epidural. Can I get you some laughing gas? Do you want to give that a try? Some women love it, some women hate it. What would you like to do? I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. I don't know, but she does warn me that I can't get up from the bed after having this laughing gas. So we go to the bed and she teaches me how to use it. There's like a whole series of instructions that you have to follow when you're using the laughing gas, and during contractions, I found that really hard to like listen to what she was saying. So I was kind of scared, like, oh my God, am I gonna die if I breathe this in the wrong way? We tried the laughing gas, I hated it. I did one puff. It's like very hard to breathe when that thing is on you, and I just couldn't breathe and couldn't wait to get it off. So once she got it off, I was like, no, take this away from me. This is not helping. I cannot breathe. Go away. My nurse was like, okay, Nicole, let me check you. Let's see what you're at because these contractions are really coming together quickly. So she checks me. I'm only at a 6, which I found really hard to believe. And like when I heard that, the amount of pain I was going through, I'm like, this is the end. This is the end for me. I am not gonna make it to 10. 2 minutes later, I feel my baby's head. And my nurse is like, whoa, 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 like we don't have the doctor here yet. I just checked you, you were at a 6. Let me check you again. She checks, she's like, holy crap, you're at a 10. Like, let's get everyone in here. Because of my baby's suspected UGR, we also had like a whole bunch of extra people there in case he had problems breathing or something was wrong upon delivery. So the whole team comes in, the OB comes in, a training doctor comes in, and we're getting ready to push. Because I went from a 6 to a 10 so quickly and we were waiting for people to come in, I don't think the nurse is legally allowed to deliver the baby. So she's like, Nicole, you can't push yet. Like, I know you need to push, but you cannot push yet. So I'm like clenching my butt cheeks, doing whatever I can. Finally, doctor comes in, she's getting geared up and she's like, okay, Nicole, like, let's do this. The OB coached me through the pushing and the breathing, and she's like, I don't want you to tear. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm listening to everything. I was screaming before, and then she said, I don't want you to tear, and then I went absolutely quiet, completely focused on what she was saying. Going back to my delivery 7 years ago, I had the epidural. I did not know what the pushes felt like. Fast forward 7 years to the present, it's an immense amount of pressure down there. If you're wondering what giving birth feels like in the Ring of Fire, the way that I would explain it is like, if you have like a pomelo, or like an orange, you know, those ones that are like hard to pull apart. That's kind of what it felt like down there for me. So luckily within a couple of pushes, he was out. Everything was okay for the most part. Once they're out, you feel almost like immediate relief, you know? I mean, I felt relief that I didn't have to push anymore because I was getting really tired. Even though I only did it for a couple minutes, I hear some women do it for hours on end, and I don't know how you do it. Seriously, I was exhausted after a couple pushes. Once that baby's on your chest, you feel okay and everything is okay. So that was how my birth went down. Very intense, but I will say that if I were to have another baby, I think I would try to go epidural free again because the recovery was much quicker. It is your choice. You do what you think is best for you in that moment. Know that there are options available to help alleviate pain during labor. If you need it, if you want it, go for it. But I have experienced both, and I will say that the recovery without the epidural was easier. I was up and walking quickly after giving birth. It was kind of nicer in that way. 7 tips that I want to share for pain management if you want to try and go through labor without an epidural. This is in no particular order. I think they're all kind of helpful in a different way. Number 1 is having a mantra, like a saying that you can recite to yourself that helps you get through it. For me, it was every contraction brings me closer to meeting my baby. And also every contraction means one less contraction I have to feel. That was really helpful. I think a lot of it is your mental state and rooting yourself on, because no one can give birth except for you. You just have to be your biggest cheerleader. Number 2 is my birthing comb. I got mine off of Amazon. This was a lifesaver. So there's a special way to hold it, but honestly, I just held it like this. You'll see after you give birth like the marks on your hands from scrunching this thing. So putting pain elsewhere distracts from the focus on the pain of labor, but this honestly was more helpful than I thought it would be. Tip number 3 was having a birthing ball. My nurse offered me one. She was originally going to get me the soft one, but they were out of them, so she brought me a stiff one, and I think that was actually even better because of my contractions being in my butt and my back. And so when I sat on the stiff ball, it kind of had a little bit of bounce, but not too much. It really helped with the pressure, and I feel like it kind of applied a counter pressure. So I would be open to trying any of the balls that they want to bring you. Even the peanut ball, I think if you're like stuck in labor, is supposed to really open up your pelvis. So if nurses offer you something, take it, give it a try, be open to trying different things. You never know what's gonna help you out. Number 4, being able to walk around and not being stuck to the bed. That really helps. I mean, you do have the fetal monitors on you, so you are kind of limited to the general area of your bed, but just walking, I found standing through the contractions was more helpful than sitting or lying down in the bed, because you can kind of move and breathe the way that you want, and that was really nice. If you want to try the laughing gas, just be wary of the fact that you will have to stay in bed after that. I don't know for how long, but because it can make you lightheaded, they will ask you to stay in bed because they don't want you falling over. Number 5, closing your eyes from all visual stimulants and just breathing through really helps you calm down. They do not want you to hyperventilate, which can sometimes happen when you're feeling a lot of pain and you're kind of panicky. Try and slow your breath down, control your breathing as best you can, and it'll help relax your body, help you move through the contractions. Number 6 is having a support person. For me, I did not like to be touched during it. I really just wanted to be free, but having your support person there, so if you need water or if you need lip balm or you need gum, they can grab it for you. Having that there is obviously going to be very helpful. If you are a more soft-spoken person or you feel uncomfortable asking your nurses for things, like it's kind of nice to have someone there who's not going through labor to be able to advocate for you. So if you can have someone there to support you, highly recommend. Number 7, locking in. A lot of people say when you want to try giving birth unmedicated that it is really like a mental preparation you have to do, and I could not agree more. I think if I had gone to that labor and an anesthesiologist was available, I would have ended up getting the epidural 100%, because I mentally did not prepare to go through birth unmedicated. I was open to the idea. But if you are someone who is really wanting to try giving birth unmedicated, you really have to lock in, and you really have to tell yourself like there's no other way you can do it. Because if there's like a little bit of leeway, your body's gonna want to say, well, get the epidural. For me, that lock-in moment was when that nurse came back and she said, the anesthesiologist is in surgery. The minute I heard those words, I locked in, because I have no choice now. I have to do this without an epidural. So in that moment, I told myself, Nicole, you're gonna do this and we're gonna be okay. So that is everything. That is my birth story. Those are some pain management tips that I hope are helpful if you are trying to do an unmedicated labor. If you've experienced this yourself too and wanna leave tips for any fellow mothers, leave them in the comments down below. If you are pregnant and watching this video, I wish you a really healthy pregnancy, safe delivery. I 100% believe you can do it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.